Hi out there, my name's Lance and thank you for joining me on the mic today. And I'm going to do a piano lesson. I recently posted a video with my performance of a song called Altar Call by the late and I believe great Keith Green. And somebody was nice enough to request that I do a tutorial on that. By the way, this song, the live version can be found on the Ministry Years CDs. The original version was from an album called No Compromise that came out, I believe, in 1978. But I want to say right off the bat that I am not nearly as accomplished on the piano as Keith Green was, and my version that I posted is really just kind of my arrangement, and by arrangement I mean simplification. I didn't use sheet music or anything. I just used my knowledge of music theory and fleshing out the chords to come up with a version that I could play that I hope was close enough to the original that it was certainly recognizable. But in keeping with that, the tutorial I'm doing today is going to basically be my version, simplified version. You don't necessarily have to know a whole lot of music theory to understand this, but I am assuming that you understand basic chords, and I'm only going to do a few of the little embellishments that I used. I'll leave it to the viewer for you to figure out how to take the basic chord structures and embellish upon them the way that you might want to do it, just in the interest of keeping the video relatively short. I do have an overhead camera, so most of the tutorial material will use that so that you can see where my hands are. But I'll mention right off that the song is in the key of G. I played it in G, and the original is also in G. I double checked that to make sure. Most of it is, there are just a few diatonic chords. By diatonic, that just means they're in the key of G. There's only really one that borrows from the relative minor, for those of you who know what that means. And then there is a key change toward the end, but it modulates up a whole step, and all of the portion that's in the key of A, the chords are relatively the same. But I'll go over that. I'll start off, it starts with just a G chord, which I play, and just like that. Maybe I'll turn my volume down, that's pretty loud. Then it's a slash chord, F in the right hand, F major, but with G still in the left hand. That's what a slash chord is. When you see a F slash G, for instance, in this case, that just means that the letter before the slash is the chord in your right hand. The letter after the slash is the bass note. So the first two chords are, then it goes to C, C major, and I walk down to it with a G with the bass note of B, and then there's an A minor. Now this next chord that I play, I listened to the original and I don't think it's in there, but I play a C major with a D in the bass. Then it goes back to G. Okay, so that first section is, most people won't find out till it's too late, but someone has to pay the price. Okay, G, F slash G, C, G slash B, A minor, and then C slash D. So that's pretty simple right there. Now in the intro, Keith Green did this kind of right hand chord flourish thing that I certainly did not work out exactly the same. When I was figuring this out, I don't even remember how much I referred to the disc. I think I just tried to come up with something that was of a similar vibe, you know, had the same spirit, but I listened to the original, and what I'm doing is certainly not what he did. But I'll show you on the camera, on the overhead camera. What I do is just this in the right hand. The first time I do a succession of C and G major chords like this. Okay, so it's C, G, C, G, C, G, C. And then when it goes down to that next chord, the G/F chord, I do a succession of F and G chords, and there's a D minor in there. It's like this. And then C. So I'll do that again slowly, the whole thing, so that if you want to copy what I'm doing, you can. But again, it's not like the original. So I'm just taking the chords that I was using anyway and playing a rapid succession of them, and it was a little hard for me because to try to drop those correctly and not hit extra notes that you don't want, that'll take a little bit of practice maybe. But that's the intro, okay? And the intro again is the same succession of chords that the verse has. Okay, so let's say we've gone through the first two lines of the verse. Most people won't find out till it's too late. Someone has to pay the price. You could pay it yourself or let someone else. But who would be that nice? Okay, so those are the same. Then we go to the, well, I guess you could call it the B section of the verse. It goes to an E minor. To pay a debt that isn't his. Okay, so we've got E minor, D major, C major, and G. To pay a debt that isn't his. Now here's where the borrowed chord comes in, because you go up to a B suspended chord. Well, I know someone like that. And if you've studied theory, you know why that works. This is a relative dominant chord to the E minor. It's a 5 chord to the E minor. So then I use D sharp for my bass note, and you have to play a regular B chord or B7 chord, or else it won't fit with your bass note. So back to E minor. And what are the words there? To pay a debt that isn't his. Well, I know someone like that. And he's your best friend. He really is. There's that G with the B and the bass again. A minor, or you could do A minor 7. He really loves you. And then there's a D suspended. Do D7 if you want. Most people don't find out till they're half dead that they need another life. You say you've heard everything that's ever been said about the way, the truth, of life. You say you've heard lots of preaching all before, so many times. But did you ever open up the door? Give him a chance. D suspended to D. And here's where the key change comes in. I'm playing a D chord, and I'm going to keep that D chord in my right hand, but play a B octave in my left. And that's going to lead me to an E suspended, E7, And so you hear how that leads you to the key change, to A. Okay, so I'll go over that really quick again from the place where it says, let's see, it's paid. D sus to D to prove himself, 'cause he's real, you know. Whoa. Okay, so now we're in the key of A. I hope you find out yes, that's correct. G/A, so a G chord with an A in the bass. Before it's too late, D, A/C sharp. That there's really nobody else. Now there's a B minor 7. The equivalent slash chord that I used in the other key. It's a D in the right hand with an E as the bass. You know it's breaking his heart the longer you wait, and you've only been lying to yourself. Now the minor in this key is F sharp minor. No one believes a thing you say, not even you. Here's the relative, the dominant chord to the F sharp minor, and this one is C sharp major. You know you're gonna find out that he's the way, no matter which way you choose. E suspended to E or E7. Find out by his love for you. Most people won't find out till it's too late. So I hope that makes sense to you. Again, if you know major and minor chords and seventh chords, that's mostly what this song is, and a couple of suspensions. And in fact, a lot of Keith's music was like that. He didn't usually stretch out into jazz chords and jazz progressions and that kind of thing, but he did use complex piano arrangements, which are more difficult than what I can play. But the fact that the progressions themselves are not usually extremely complex is nice, because someone like me, and maybe someone like you who has more limited piano ability, can still figure out the basic chords and then use your own degree of piano ability to still capture the essence of the song. And again, I played a pretty simple version. If you watch the video that I made, you know, I used some different inversions of chords, or I'd move from one inversion to another. I forget what key I'm in. Trouble because I am forgetting that I got to go back to the beginning of the song, to the G, to the key of G. But my point is that I would recommend that if you are a chord player or not a very complex pianist, start out with the basics, just basic chord shapes, and learn that. And then once you're comfortable with that, stretch out with using some different inversions of the chords and some little embellishments, like, you know, a lot of these All that is just a G chord, but a quick sus2 at the beginning. And then I use that also on the C chord. Not terribly complicated stuff, but it can sound pretty good, and especially if you mix it up with some different chord inversions or voicings, if you like. So that is my simple version of Keith Green's Altar Call, what I consider to be a very uplifting song. I don't know if I can say that it's one of my favorites just because he had so many good songs. It would be hard to pick a favorite, but it's certainly a good song as far as relaying the straightforward message of the gospel. And so I hope, again, that this little tutorial, despite its errors here and there, I hope it's been helpful to you. And if you can use that to improve your piano skills, or share it with a friend, or share the gospel message in a concert or church service or something, then I hope that that will bless people. And I think that based on what I've read about Keith Green and everything, I think that he would be happy with that. I think he wanted his music to be used for that very purpose. And so again, I'm Lance, this is the mic, and thanks for stopping in. Bye-bye.